Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a growth plan in iObservation. When you log into iObservation through the portal, you're going to look towards the top middle bar and click on Growth and then Plans. Once there, regardless of whatever color scheme you have for iObservation, look for the Plans button on the under the word Plans on the left side. There's a little Create New Plan button with a green plus sign, and you create this. This starts your plan. You've got 4 steps through the process, and you need to complete all 4 steps to actually create your growth plan. Step 1 is a self-assessment, and that's going to be based off your current role. Step 2 is where you're going to select the target element, so whatever element you're going to work on this year for your deliberate practice. Step 3 is identifying action steps, so how are you going to work on it? And then step 4 is the actual button that completes the process. So let's kind of go quickly through these steps. Step 1, you have 2 self-assessments. There's the classroom teacher and the non-classroom teacher forms. Now, these are going to be based on your roles. If you're not sure which form you're supposed to fill out, you definitely need to speak with your observer. Reason why I kind of stress that is, let's say you fill this out, you create your plan, and then a few months go by and you're using the wrong form, you're not going to be observed on the correct form for your deliberate practice. So please make sure if you have questions about this process, you're speaking with your principal, your AP, or your school's Marzano liaison. So for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to click on the classroom teacher form. And once inside, this looks exactly like the actual observation instrument because this is a self-assessment. Self-assessment is meant to mimic the actual observation form that's used on you. Okay, again, for the sake of demonstration, I already know which element I want to use, and I want to work on helping students practice skills, strategies, and processes this year. Now, keep in mind, I can choose any element from any of the domains, but this is the one that I'm going to choose this year. I click on the element, and here's the focus statement, desired effect, evidences, but all I really need to do is go down to the scale to see where I really feel I am with this element this year. And with helping students practice skills, processes, and strategies, what I do is I just hover over the scale and it's going to tell me what this element looks like. So not using, beginning, developing, applying, and innovating. Now, of course, the best practice is to sit here and review all the elements and review the evidences, review these scales, and then really take a deep look into see where do you feel you are right now with this element. Now, for the sake of this, for the demonstration, I feel that I am developing. So right there, I've clicked on it. It has stuck in place. And that means that now I've rated myself on one element, and to confirm, I scroll up to the top and there's the element with a green check mark. If it's green, it means I scored. If it's yellow, it means I clicked on the element, but I didn't score it. So I want you to remember that in order to select the element I want to self-assess on, I have to click it, and then I have to click on the score. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to come up to the top right. I'm going to click Finish. And yes, and that'll take me back to the growth plan, and you'll see on the growth plan page, once it loads, that I have completed my first step, and there it says completed the self-assessment. Now I have completed the first step, so what I need to do is go to step 2 to actually begin the process of selecting the element. And what I do is I click Select Target Element, and there's the element I chose. And there's my self-assessment score. An interesting note for you is if you have observations in the system from the previous year, you will see a column here, observation scores. So it's observation history. But right now, all I have is my self-assessment score. So I'm going to click Configure. And there's the developing I chose from before. And what that is that's my starting performance level. So where am I starting? If I'm engaging in deliberate practice, and I want to measure my own growth, I need to have a starting point and an end point. So my starting point is already chosen, but then I have a final point. So where do I think I want to be at the end of the year? Now, this may not be where I end up, but it's where I want to be. I have a choice of only applying or innovating because I've started at developing. I can't go back. I want to go forward. I want to grow. And I want to be innovating by the end of the year. Okay, and now there's 2 questions at the bottom, and this is they go along the lines of what are you going to need to be successful. So what resources will you need to utilize in order to grow your target element? Well, this is going to be based on you. This could be some courses in e-learning, your school's Marzano liaison, etc. This could be anything you need that can be paper-based, book-based, people-based, or digital resources. Now, the second question here is, will you be working on your target element independently or with others? Well, I plan to work, and if I spelled that correctly, plan to work with my grade level team. And that could be anything. That could be you working with your department. It could be working with other people across the district. It could be just you. You have the choice of working on this independently. We do see that there's more success when you work with others, but this has to be about you. And if you choose to work alone, that's absolutely fine. Okay, once I've gone through all of these, I'm going to click Save. And, okay, I've done this part. I'm now going to click back to plan. And look at that. Step 2 is done. Now, you notice step 1 doesn't have that little done with a checkbox. It's because once you have observation data, you don't necessarily have to take the self-assessment. But if you haven't been observed on an element before, the self-assessment really helps. Step 3, now we're going to identify our action steps. So what I do is go to Develop a Plan for Growth. And you'll see the little Add a Step button over here. And a nice thing is this is where you're going to describe how you're going to grow. So this could be, before I said the Marzano liaison or course in e-learning, well, you're going to describe it. A nice little easy quick guide here is on the top right, action step ideas. We have some for you. So there's some suggestions on what you could do. These are not the end all be all. They're just some examples of what you can do to grow. For example, I am going to plan ways to incorporate that practicing element into my lesson plans. And this date-wise, it's when do I plan to do it? Or when do I plan to be done with it? Well, if I'm doing this at the beginning of the year, I want to plan by September 1st, 2018 or 2019, whenever you're watching this video. So that date could be when you're planning to complete the action or when you plan to be completed with that action. And since I only have one element, I can leave this as all, or click the element itself. And adding resource, these are just some examples of resources you could utilize. Now, you do not have to select these at all. It's just going to be relevant to what you're working on. Once I'm done, I click Save Action Step. And there's my action step. Now, we want you to have at least a couple action steps. There isn't a maximum number. You want to have as many action steps as you would need to be successful. A nice thing about the action steps are you can continue to add them throughout the year. And just an example, I'm putting in a second one right here. I'm going to have a peer observe me using my target element. Now, in this previous one, you saw that I said I was going to plan to incorporate the element into my instruction. Well, I'm going to do that for a little bit, and then after a while, I'm going to want someone to come observe me. So maybe on September 15th, now I'm going to have one of my team members come and see me, or maybe have my observer, and it could be anything. Then remember, this part is about action steps for growing, for coaching. So this is hopefully in a peer capacity, non-evaluative, just someone there to take a look and see how you're doing and give you some feedback. All right, right there now I have 2 action steps, and that means I've fulfilled the minimum requirements for this demonstration, but I want you to think about what you really need and take your time filling these out. And once you're done, click Save Action Step Order. And look at that. We have step 1 done, step 2, step 3, but there's one thing that you still have to do, and it's step 4. You have to put your plan into action. And step 4 is simply clicking the button here at the bottom to activate your plan. And look at this. I click the button, and that is it.